Well, good evening, Facebook. This is going to be the last message that I put out through social media for a long time. And I thought, I took a break from social media for the past couple weeks. And I've just really come to some profound truths that were also liberating, and I'm going to share those with you because this is the final lesson, so to speak. And I'm going to leave this up for about 24 hours, and I'm going to let you know what has been going on and why. And I hope you guys hear this message and you take my advice, because you're going to learn something really great tonight. I think it's going to be the best thing I've ever talked about is going to happen right now. So first of all, for those who've stuck with me for the past few years on the show, thank you. There's more to come, but it's not right now. God, there's so much more to come. And I'm going to bring that to you in a way that's going to blow your mind. Next fall, there will be something. And more recently, the university, USI, is going to be a book out. It's not just like a suicide awareness. It's what we can do about it. There's breast cancer awareness, all this awareness stuff everywhere. But there's never what do we do right now? And I along with a good friend of mine, were able to get a work published, and it was sponsored by the student vets. So that's going to be happening, which will lead up to a bigger project within the year. I'm getting off social media because for the past 3 weeks, I came to a point a few weeks ago. I said, there's a common trait, there's a common characteristic, there's a variable, something, and it's responsible for just a whole slew of issues and distractions, if you will. Hello, Lisa. Good to see you. And everyone joining me tonight. Good to see you here, too. So I deleted everything. Instagram, Facebook. There's still moderators running Angels and all this, and the Fire Tea Philosophy page, of course. But I shut it all down. Within one day, it disappeared. And the first few days were lonely. It was like I had lost a part of my identity. Somewhere around the first week, I started just interacting with people more, be it on the phone, but I also had more time to myself. And then, the following week went by. Hello, Kevin. Good to see you, buddy. And everyone else watching this now or within the next 24 hours, thank you for watching, because this is the last message. But when I jumped off it, and I've realized after these few weeks that it's the most rewarding thing that I've had within 11 years. See, when Facebook first came out, I was on it. I was on deployment in Iraq, and I've been on it since. And I didn't realize over all this time what it had been doing. How it disconnects us from our family and friends. How it changes us into something that we're not, because we're so exposed to these snapshot opinions and comparisons of everyone else. It happens so quick in your mind, you don't realize it. So I shut it all down. And I kind of went dormant for a few weeks. And today I was like, well, before I disappear for good off of social media, I still have my phone, if you will, and email, of course. I thought I at least owed an explanation and a goodbye. And what I've learned. And I want you guys to take this with you. So the end state is, when you get more involved with social media and all these things that distract you from what's really going on, it's not just that it distracts you from the family and friends that you've had for a long time. It distracts you from the things that you truly love doing. And as I shut this down, the first couple of days were very hard, but then I started to notice, wow, well, I don't have to go on any social media anymore. I don't have a show to do. What are you going to do? Go back to what you know. Now read. Read motherfucking metaphysics. This shit is kind of boring, but it's good. But I'm reading. Or back to piano or the gym or whatever. What are all those things that you used to do before social media that you don't do anymore? You owe it to yourself. And you're not doing it because you're stuck. Just like I was. So I ripped off the Band-Aid. I said, you know what? When I ripped off this Band-Aid and I get off social media, something's going to happen. Either the people who really have meaning in my life, they're going to stay in touch some way, or eventually they will. They'll reach out, be it a year or two or whatever. But all the distraction's going to go away and I can focus on myself. And when I focus on myself and I can be the best version of who I am, I can then give the best back to the people that I love and care for. And God damn if that didn't happen. And it's been happening almost every day. You guys know me, you realize the struggle with depression and everything like that. And I tell you what, I am the happiest I've ever been. Truly. I had to let go of a lot of attachments with people. People I was hanging on to thinking it was a friendship or it was a meaningful relationship in some way. And I had to let it go. Because I realized that we all move on, we all grow, and we all take different paths in life. And social media is good at keeping us connected to things we shouldn't be connected to anymore. Really good. And now, there are some people who can stay on social media and do it in a healthy way. Good on you. It has its advantages, yes. But it separates us more. It gives us our own false sense of personal identity. We create a new identity based around all these opinions and we don't even know it. And then we get angered when someone conflicts with that opinion because we feel their opinion or their view, we look at them as the enemy because they hurt that inherent cause of things we're fighting. What kind of bullshit is that? People have opinions, they're welcome to it all the time. It's what makes the world go good. So when you silence all this, you silence all this stuff, all this chaos. And you pick up your phone and you can reach out to whoever you need to at any time. I've been finding out I'm actually getting phone calls a lot now. I'm like, what is this? Hello? Talking on the phone? Very well. I like this. It feels old-fashioned. And with that quiet time in between, when I don't talk to people or I'm not studying, and I sure as hell wasn't on social media, I was thinking about when I gave all the energy to all these other things and people that didn't really deserve it, I can now give that back to the people who deserve it. And when I started doing that, those meaningful relationships I thought I lost, they began to blossom again. And they've been growing ever since. They just needed some watering. They needed some caring. I've been doing that. So then the next step was to go through my phone and man, I deleted like 40 different numbers. People I just don't really talk to or keep in touch with or who just weren't really that good in my life, who were just always doing bad things to bring me down, misleading me or whatever it is. You have those people too. We all do. And we have to check ourselves about that. And in the end, it came down to every week or whatever, I seem to come across the right people who've been there all along, and I'm nourishing those relationships again. And I'm finding out that that sense of loneliness that I had in the beginning, it was mandatory because social media is your tribe. It's your new tribe. You've developed it over time. And when you separate from one tribe and go back to your original one or to another, there's always this period of loneliness because it's the transition. And it's usually that loneliness or that transition we mistake and we go back to our old ways. We're too afraid to move forward. Lisa says, cut those toxic folks out. Good job. It's hard to do. It is, Lisa. It was, I began to understand, study physics and mechanical wave functions with light. I tell you what, that shit was hard. And I'm still getting the math wrapped around my head. But this was harder. This was harder than any math or any attempts I am learning at physics right now. I don't care what theories Einstein says or has. Separating from your old tribe so you can be the better you and returning to your source. That's fucking hard, people. And I encourage you all to just start doing it, man. Get rid of this shit. Do it for yourself. Get rid of all the social media and the distractions. Get rid of the wasted energy. Put that energy back into people who mean something to you. And in the end, I found peace in my sleep. I found less attachment to bad things. And it's continuing to grow. And that's why I decided after this message, I'll leave it up for a short time. But then that's it. No more. Now, why? When will I ever be back on in this realm of social media? If I am, it'll be because I'm being represented by an organization or a company. But I'll tell you what's in store. Things really fall into place when you get rid of the distractions and you focus on what you're good at, regardless of any opinions from everyone else who is trying to make you feel less of who you were. So first was I'm getting ready to graduate, and the long story short is I'll be going right back to college to get a psych degree with a cognitive science minor, and it's an area of interest specifically with artificial intelligence. And the reason is because there is no ethical oversight in what is being created in the artificial intelligence realm. Somebody create a program, it can do whatever. There's no judge, jury, execution, or even an institution that can regulate this. I presented this to the university and they loved the idea, and now I'm going to be doing some research about it. Happened when I got off social media and I was allowed to think freely and take my radical ideas to people who listened, and now it's making a difference. Fucking research assistant. Bitch. I said bitch. So it's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to it. The next thing was, besides the book, it was doing the research into something that I put the lessons together I've been being taught for about the past year in psychology. And I understand. God, now I've got to explain this to you. So when we think, we make a decision. We have something called the System 1 and System 2 processes. Your System 1 process is a process that you see something and you make a snapshot judgment, like a meme. There is no logic in it. It's all preference-based. It's based off of your own opinion. A lot of times that's where we get misled because we believe so much in that opinion. And when something confirms maybe that opinion was right, that's called hypothesis bias. You have no empirical data or evidence to prove that was an opinion in the first place. That's System 1 process. What happens is that when you react to a situation and the stronger emotion that you feel tied to that situation. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Jessica. Jessica and Lisa, you guys should, before I go, you guys need to be friends. You guys are both scientists. Like, trust me. You guys are both, when I talk to one, it's like talking to the other. At each other. You're good people. So, and I'll still be at your wedding, Jessica. So System 1 process, that's that process. You can also hear people making their quick assessments through their opinions because, whatever opinion-based bullshit. System 2 is when you halt your emotions and you say, okay, is this true or not? And you think it through with reason, with rationale. System 2 is where the logic comes into play. And see, how this connects is to the state, which I'm writing a 12-page paper on right now, which is very happy to actually be doing this. Words of disgust lead to dehumanization and eventually genocide. I've harped on this, but I see it too often. So when someone starts insulting you about something and they have no real bias, or they're really cruel in general, and they're using words that are associated with disgust, lazy, immoral, a vermin. Nazis used the word vermin in their propaganda when they were trying to get people to believe Jews were bad. The Rwandan genocide, the key word was it's cockroach, but whatever it was in their language, Ishtua or something. The cockroach was associated with the people. Funny thing is, we do this to others all the time. An example is how it works is you have something called a social cognition process. That is what identifies other things as human or having life. So when you talk to Siri or you talk to your phone, or when you look at your phone and give it that much attention, you feel unknowingly it has some type of life. But if you're looking at that phone and you pass a homeless beggar on the street and don't pay any attention, you've not identified who he was, and he's less than human, and we go on to actually treat them worse. But now in relationships, let's say we get in an argument or friendship or fucking social media. Here's where it gets good. About to blow your mind. You ready? Within social media, we see something we don't agree with and we automatically attack the person with the most vile words possible to make our point and make them feel less. It's not so much that they're going to feel less. We're looking at them as less than a human being. And when things are less than human, we can subjugate and abuse them a lot easier with no remorse. Yeah, think about that. How much do you see that on social media? Fucking scary. This came to realization after I really did have to practice what I was preaching. It was to step back and go, I was in this class and it was turning out to be really feminist and I was getting tired of the bullshit. But I said, being a philosopher, you have to listen to this. What is it about these complaints from these women that you're not hearing? Because there's something there. There's anger, there's disgust. What's going on? And oh boy, when I dug for the truth, I talked to I talked to my family members who were women, I talked to friends, and I was scared. I didn't sleep for about 2 nights. And here's what I found out. First, and now I'm not becoming a liberal feminist, as a lot of people from my home think I am. No, I've become aware of another side of the story, and it's frightening. And it ties into disgust and dehumanization. What I've learned, and this is just summing it up, is that women in general, they're getting approached by dudes that get grabbed a lot, catcalled. They put up this shit daily. Just walking from the store to the car can be really frightening. And it happens more times than not. It happens when even more guys, there's one girl and there's more guys getting up on them and shit. And, it can be a scary scenario, but also the other things that happen, I began to picture this happening to my daughter and my family. And I found out this does happen a lot. I felt appalled because as a protector, as someone who loves his daughter very much, I didn't realize this shit is happening to her. It's happening to all women pretty much. And it's like, wow, no wonder we have that issue. And the worst of it, the worst that I found out was having to deal with that, like as a woman, having to deal with all this shit you got to constantly defend yourself on. Then the infighting among women, where women are supposed to raise each other up and help them in their, women battle or whatever. But there's other women, when you start to do something, they bring you down. Now, in the guy world, it's a little different. Guys fronting each other. It's like, all right, whatever, bitch. We'll fucking slug it out. Whatever. You do your thing. Girls is different. It's a real emotional thing they have to deal with. One, with, other dudes doing this shit. And then two, their own fellow women. I was like, fuck, where's the heart of the problem? I found it. I found one link, and I'm going to go with that, is that I looked up, I used the resources I had academically. I said, okay, what does this all come down to? And a lot of it came down to women's rights and things like that. But there lies a problem, because within that infighting with women, it goes deeper. And I don't even think a lot of women see this, what I found out, which was the shocking thing. If they're both fighting for rights on the end of the spectrum, the definition of rights is different. One wants the basic fair wages and things like that. Okay, great. Supposed to happen. The other wants something outlandish, the extreme liberal feminist. And this is where this was identified by Stanford and Princeton, by the way, so these aren't my fucking words. Look it up in Princeton Encyclopedia of Philosophy. They want this other side who's fighting against their other women when they're supposed to be fighting for rights and the same thing. They want free will to do and live as they please, free from threat of harm or violence. Since agriculture started, we've been having fucking wars. Nobody's free from goddamn violence. All right. So then you have the practical people who are just like, no, we just want fair wages, all these other things. And at the same time, they have to fight out guys and then other women who are doing this shit. And like I said, I'm not turning into Mr. Liberal Feminist here. It's a realization of a truth I never understood or even thought existed. And I thought that's something worth bringing to the table. And so now I look at the world different from a different lens when I see this. I see why there's such anger, disgust, and abuse on both sides. It's the conflicts with social media. It's the infighting that women have to deal with. It's the abuse. It's the subjugation by using terms that are to deal with people in an angry way that we make them less than human. And I tell you what kicked off this whole thing in general. I was watching C-SPAN, and I hate the news, but I just happened to turn on it this one particular night. And in it, and Congress was arguing about something, but then it quickly turned to one side calling the other side immoral, lazy, and everything else. And then the other side was doing the same exact thing with almost the same exact words. And I presented this. I asked this in class, and I asked this to a couple of professors, what is going on? And I got an answer. And it's the same. This answer applies to almost everything that's happening when these same methods are used against each other. Polarization. So the political spectrum has polarized, meaning it's separated, but it's not gaining any new followers on the left or the right. By the words of disgust, they make each other the enemy, and they don't gain any new ground. They just fight. It's going on in our politics. It's going on in our society and everywhere else. And my God, that's where it added up. And you want to go on social media daily to get your fix, like I've been doing for 10, 11 years. But it's even worse there. So I eliminated it. And I started from scratch. I'm going to fix my world. The people I know, I'll treat them with great value, but I'll be the best that I can so I can give them the best in return. My phone number is still the same, so if you have it, I would have highly advised texting because I deleted a shitload of numbers. It's not a threat or nothing. It's just like, look, I'm going to keep in touch with who I am. My life's going to be a lot more private so I can think clearly. And even if nobody's... A fundamental truth, by the way, everybody's like, well, it's a fundamental truth. Look, that's an opinion-based bullshit. You have a fundamental truth. I've got one, they got one. Everybody's got a different fundamental truth about something. So don't let that shit get to you either. You create your own truth off your own experiences. And if you want to know where you're going wrong, if you are ending up in life in this cycle of shit over and over and over, then I'll tell you exactly what you do. First, you check your preferences internally, what you prefer to believe, what you prefer to like, what you prefer to follow, all that shit. You get it clear in your mind. Those preferences, when given a choice to be encountered with different decisions, will chase after that desire. And that desire creates the action of what you do and you follow. So if everything is wrong, if your habits are bad, change your preferences. That's what you do. Hunter, if one voice can be heard, I hope it's yours, man. Society needs to hear something like you. People just don't care about the essential topics you brought up. Keep speaking. And thank you, Hunter. I appreciate that. And that brings me to the next point about what I'm doing and why I'm leaving social media. Now, like I said, there'll be one thing, YouTube, the Fire Team Philosophy, will be still out there. I will send videos to the editor to post when I can, so subscribe to that if you like. But my stuff is really heavy where I'm at academically, not just graduating next year. It's going to be a follow-on of like 2.5 years. I'm Van Wilder at college now. It's so I can gain a second degree and then go to grad school, and the whole thing is doing with the ethical AI, but also I understand it with ethics in this way with people. What do you think the programs are going to do that we create eventually? They're going to mimic the behavior of the creator. So what I think needs to happen is eventually when I can combine this and understand it, get enough evidence and everything else like that, and put it in a way that's digestible as I've been doing, I'll come out with a book, a journal entry or something, and I'll explain all this, and hopefully that is something that will take hold with people. To say, to step out of the cave, which the cave is my final analogy here. But first, alone this semester, I've written some of the finest work I ever have. It was, I'm not even going to go over here. If you ever come over for tea, I'll explain to you guys personally what it was. One was on time travel, we talked about. Another one was on identity over time. And I'll leave you with this question before I get to the final analogy of the cave. Good evening, cousin Patty. What makes you, you over time? How do we identify ourselves? It's by the Social Security number, right? Is it? By our fingerprints? Is that what makes you from day one of birth to you now? What are you going to school for? Currently, I'm still finishing the philosophy degree. I've been taking longer. I'll get back to the identity thing in a minute. And then I'm going to, as soon as I graduate, start it for a psychology major, because I believe the two go hand in hand strongly. And then cognitive science, which is, basically a science of our conscious, how we're aware, human behavior. And then with that, I'm going to use that to hopefully somehow get enough research, get a chief justice on the phone and say, hey, we need an ethical AI branch, because the IRB, the International Review Board, their regulations are 40 years old, and it's the only thing that's in place right now. So I'm going for that. It's pretty out there, but when I explained it at school, I got some good support over it. That's why I'm going to be researching this in a research assistant. So that's what I'm going for. I want to really use what I've learned and present these scenarios and go, hey, we're creating shit that's going to get out of hand. And I'm not talking Skynet Terminator. I'm talking in one way or another, we're going to bring our own demise, even if it's just by immersing people in technology so much they forget their own humanity. I think there's a few angles to look at this and take it. So thank you very much. So I'll finish with two things. The cave, the ultimate last final story. But if you do go to a store at Barnes & Noble, and you can see this book, Quadrivium, I've stayed up to 4 a.m. reading this when I first bought it. And this explains everything. There's 4 books, actually. And the cool thing I'll show you here, it shows you the 4 subjects, tetrachites, I think talks about Aristotle, tetrachites and things like that. And a lot of math, a lot of sound, circle is square. This book is just this knowledge book, and I was fucking drinking the shit out of it. So Quadrivium, go look it up, and good luck. I'm proud of you. You're doing it. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it. Lisa, my friends Lisa and Jessica, we had many talks on science. That Lisa always had to say the saying, causation doesn't or correlation doesn't equal causation. If something correlates, if it connects, it doesn't mean it's cause of it. That got me thinking initially a long time ago. My thinking's fucked up. Thanks, Lisa. You're a good catalyst for that. So, on to the story. I just had to write and do a lot of heavy research, and I don't think this is going to be boring. It's not. Just stay with me. So I'm going to mention it. People are going to shut down. Plato's Cave. Yes, bitch, stay here. Got something good for you. So, reading through it, it's actually pretty interesting. Book 6 and 7 in the Republic, which was actually supposed to be the Polis, but that was mistranslated to the Republic, the history. So, if you don't know the story of the cave, there's movies and stories that mimic after it. The Matrix is one. But the whole thing was to explain the concept of the philosopher king. And in a perfect government, it would need to be ruled by philosopher king. I was like, fuck it, that's a tattoo. I'm going to get that shit. The philosopher king. He would be knowledgeable in the subjects in order to find the form of the good, where things come from. So in the analogy is when you can find the true good, the truth of the source, and you know how to find it, and that's what these philosopher kings would be trained in, then they could rule their kingdom where the people would have the max amount of happiness and health and freedom. Notice max amount. Total freedom and happiness. We're talking hedonistic, and then carnal desires get in the way and it's out of control. So the cave, he talks about light, right? So the source, the form of good maybe is the light, the sun. So it's coming from the sun. There's also the analogy of the sun that precedes a cave. He said the rays coming off of the sun are truth and knowledge, and they shine onto something in our reality, and we see it, right? And then we name it, we render it intelligible. We create our reality by naming things, which when we don't name that beggar on the street, he's not a part of our reality, therefore he's less than human. Motherfucker, now we're gonna get deep. I'm gonna close this out. So in the cave, he says, imagine, if you will, there's people chained to a wall, and they're looking at a wall, and behind them is a fire, and there's these people in a walkway, which the people who are chained don't know about, and they bring these silhouettes, these cutouts, in front of the fire, and then the people who are chained, they see on the wall, they see the shapes. So say one day, one of the guards takes a picture of a tree, and he runs it across the fire, and it reflects into the wall, onto the wall. And the people who've never left the cave, and they've been born there their whole life, they name it something. They render their world intelligible by naming what that tree is. But here's the thing, and here's how it relates to us as people, and how you can identify who is in the cave and who is not. Ready for this? The people in the cave are seeing a dim version of the truth. So they see that shadow, that shape of that tree. And they believe that is their reality. That is truth. That's all they know. So one day, one of the prisoners gets set free and he leaves the cave. But he doesn't leave willingly. He has to be coerced. He has to be drugged out of the cave up this steep slope, and he hits light, and the light is bright, and it causes him pain. Kind of like when we have to accept a new truth we don't want to, it's painful. Because it's light being shed on our intellect, on our reality. Sometimes it breaks it and it hurts. He leaves the cave. He goes out and he starts to see, wow, this tree isn't just a shadow. It's this multi-dimensional thing with different, it's got a smell, it's got colors, it's got different texture. He does this to the whole world. And after traveling the world, the guy comes back to the cave. And he tries to tell the fellow prisoners what he saw and what is real. At first, the prisoners, they don't really recognize who he is. They're kind of suspicious. Who is this man confronting our truth, telling us something else? They can't identify him. He's less than human because he's a threat to what they believe, because they're so closed-minded. They don't want to believe anything else. They know nothing else. And then they plot to kill him. And the whole time that prisoner was just trying to show them the truth and present it to them so they could be free. Because knowledge and truth makes us free. And a lot of times that requires setting aside those system one processes, those emotional responses that are the initial reaction we get to just various situations and things we're presented with. We never really enter those system two processes unless we're calm and we're aware. And we can pass good judgment by understanding how to find the truth of something. And oftentimes that means not making the number one social media mistake where somebody responds and then you don't respond right away. That's good. And then the person tries to call you out. Well, you didn't respond, I must be right. No, bitch, they're using system 2 process and they're trying to really use logic to get to the truth. Social media doesn't encourage that. It encourages fear. It encourages a toxic discourse, the dialogue between people, the conversation. And I just got tired of seeing that everywhere with people I care about tearing each other up. I just haven't seen it before in my life, and it took me this long to figure it out. So that's where it ends. Don't stay in the cave. If something is uncomfortable, take time to question and ask why. Don't be so quick to judge. We all have to practice it. I still have to every day. And make sure that those people who've always brought you value or continue to bring value in your life. Bring the good. Learn how to see who those are. Because there's other people who are disguised that way, and they're not going to bring good into your life. They're looking for you to meet some type of need of theirs, and then they're gone. That happens in all relationships. Don't let it happen to you. So you must set those boundaries, enforce them, and stay guarded. And you can do that only when you know how to find the truth, and the truth starts with understanding that your first reaction is not always right, and you must get in that uncomfortable state to understand why. Now, sometimes you may be right, but it never hurts to understand and search out what helped you come to that conclusion in the first place, knowing yourself better. And when you know yourself better, you know what you want to do, you find purpose easier, and life goes on. And like I said, I'm not dating anyone right now. I'm not involved with anyone. I'm building myself. And I've never been happier. Because I'm investing in the right people, and I'm going to continue to do that. And I want you to. Should have closed that out better. I want you to do the same. It's late. So, like I said, this video will be for 24 hours. Do that thinking. Walk yourself through your own mind. What it is that you're tripping up on. Who it is that's not, who hasn't continually added benefit and just caused you problems. Sometimes it's hard to just let go, but you got to. Because letting go is like the guy leaving the cave, or the prisoner leaving the cave. It was painful, but when he did, he let go of his old reality, and he named new things, and he rendered a new reality intelligible, and that brought him to the truth. Even though it may risk his life in the end, or it may risk your life. But it's better to be in search for the truth and be sound in your decisions and have those relationships worth investing in and to die for it than it is to live a comfortable life, never leaving your shell, and always be miserable and leading to that life unfulfilled. All right, Facebook. You need me? 812-746-2122. And the fucking email is the same. 24 hours this is off. Profile's off. And that's it. Here's you beautiful sons of bitches. I'll see you later. A couple years. Might do this shit some more. Later, guys.